here we go. Boston has entered the chat, and there is so much to chat about. Travis Thomas here with my boy, Adam Pellerin. Adam, you know, the show's interactive. We have got to hear from the people tonight. Send us your tweets. Hit us up on the Boston has entered the chat hotline, 617-790-0928. So much to talk about, Adam. Unbelievable with the Celtics in Game 2, my friend.
Yeah, man. You know, I don't want to say I could see this coming, but I'm not surprised that this happened based on the week we've had with the Bruins and now the Celtics. And then the first series, we saw this happen with the Heat. It wasn't exactly the same, but we did see it happen. So this is something that you have to watch out for with this Celtics team.
That's a fact. Hey, look, as you can see, strong feelings about the Celtics Game 2 beatdown loss. Also, what's up with Jason Tatum, bruh? Adam and I will get into that. Plus, we'll get you ready for the Bruins-Panthers Game 3, and we'll celebrate the anniversary and the greatness that is Bobby Orr. But first, we start like we always do with let me get this off of my chest. And usually, Adam, you know, it's one of us going on a rant here. I think it's only right that we tag team this because, look, you know where we're going. I mean, I am so frustrated with the Game 2 loss to the Cavs. And look, you said something that piqued my interest because you're right. It's not surprising, I guess. You kind of wait for the Celtics to have an off shooting night and the Cavs to sort of play out her body. We saw this happen against the Heat as well. So it's not so much surprising loss that has me frustrated. It's more about how they lost. I mean, look, going into the fourth quarter, Adam, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It was still relatively close, and I said this feels like a moment for Jason Tatum to take over. We just watched Donovan Mitchell go absolutely ape, you know what, in the third quarter. Great. Celtics are at home. Tatum's having a better scoring night. This feels like the moment. Give them the ball, take over the fourth quarter, go get it, take a commanding 2-0 series lead against a Cavs team that you should be outclassing. You are better than. And that's my frustration. That's what I'm getting off my chest here, Adam. That was the furthest thing that happened. I mean, at some point, I've been defending Tatum along the way. The Heat series, Game 1 against the Cavs, because he's helping you in other ways. It's not just scoring. But this was a moment. You're scoring better in Game 2. The fourth quarter should be yours. And it's our complaint of Tatum always. All Celtics fans, all media members feel the same way with this guy. I mean, you idolize Kobe. Where's the Mamba mentality at? He just never really gives me that. Not consistently. We've seen it in pockets, obviously, against the Bucks. Game 6 a few years back. I mean, there's been moments where we've seen it. He's flashed it at him, but it's not consistent enough for me. That's what I'm getting off my chest. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to overreact to one loss. I mean, I think ultimately the Celtics are going to win this series, but we've seen this time and time again where they take their foot off the gas pedal. You talk about the killer instinct, not just with Jason Tatum, but just the team as a whole. They never really sort of just take it to the other team, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, they live and die by the three. When the threes aren't falling, they're usually losing, and so that's a problem for the Celtics. Now, in terms of Jason Tatum's game, he had 25 points tonight, 18 points in the Game 1 win. You know, until he wins a championship, people are going to say this about him. And that's the difference. You mentioned the Mamba mentality, Kobe winning all those championships. Other players like Steph Curry who have won championships. They've had off games in the playoffs before. But until you win a championship, people are going to criticize you and they're going to scrutinize you for not having that killer instinct. And Jason Tatum hasn't won it yet. And so people are going to look at his game and they're going to look at games like tonight where you have the opportunity to own the fourth quarter, to take it to the house, to get the Game 2 win on your home court and have a 2-0 lead going into Cleveland, and you don't do it. And that's what people are going to look at. That's what people think of Jason Tatum now. That could change in the future. Again, Celtics are going to win the series. They're probably going to the NBA Finals, but again, not punching their ticket just then. Then he'll have an opportunity to do that. But until that happens, Travis, those are the questions people are going to have.
All right, so listen, this is our take, but we need to hear from you, our co-host. So hit us up on the Boston Has Entered the Chat hotline, 617-790-0928, and also send us your tweets. Adam, this show's interactive. The tweets were rolling in, my friend. Let's get into it. I mean, my man, Boston diehards, death, taxes, and the Celtics making things way harder than they need to be. May the show say amen, Adam Pellerin.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the Celtics do, right? And I think, we had talked about it in the first round before the series started against the Heat. I said, you know what? The Celtics are going to win this series, no question. They're the much better team, but I don't want them to play with their food. And they played with their food. And I think a loss like tonight, could hurt them in the long run, right? Because the wear and tear and making things harder than they need to be. You need to win the games on your home court. You need to protect your home court. They didn't do that tonight.
More tweets. Andy Hart says Bruins blown out. Celtics blown out. Playoffs not trending great in Boston the last 24 hours. Now, this is where outside of Boston, fans get so upset with Boston because, you guys win all the time. Oh, your teams are in the playoffs. You win all the championships. Now that I'm here, I want to just tell all those people to shut the hell up because the standard is the standard, okay? You're not allowed to feel emotion when your teams lose. Of course you are. I mean, listen, well said, Andy Hart. It has not been going well in the last 24 hours. The tweets continue. Dying by the three is much less fun than living by it. They don't tell you about the dying part. Well said, handsome, be wonderful. I'm sure you are handsome, and that is a wonderful tweet because you're right. I mean, look, Adam, the way they play, brother, it's very pickup basketball. I'm not asking.
Well, that's the NBA, man. That's the NBA.
I know.
If you want to watch real basketball, watch college basketball.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not asking for the Princeton offense here. I get it. But, again, kind of going back to what I was saying and get this off of my chest, in the fourth quarter, give the ball to draw something up for Jason Tatum, right? Like no one else. Yeah. And let's go here for a second because I'm looking at these numbers. As a team, Adam, 8 from 35 from 3. That's 23%. Yeah. 0 for 8 from 3 in the third quarter. This is as a team now. 2 of 8 from 3 in the second half. 2 of 18 from 3 in the second half. At times, just from what I saw, it felt like, particularly in the fourth quarter, guys were almost standing around waiting for Tatum. Again, we talk in the Heat series about Derek White balling out, Jaylen Brown balling out. Well, game one, kind of similar. They carried Tatum, if you want to say that in terms of scoring, even though Tatum was giving you other things. Adam, tonight, Derek White finished with 10 points. No one shot the ball well. I'm not picking on people here, but he was 3 for 11 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3. Jaylen Brown was aggressive in terms of shooting from the floor, 7 of 17, just like Tatum was, but he was 0 from three-point range, 0 for 6. He finished with 19. So you're not getting the production from the guys who carried you from a scoring perspective up until this point. And what I observed in the fourth almost felt like it was like, give it to Tatum and let him take over. It's his turn. And he came up short. That's what I saw. Even though the whole team didn't shoot well at him, it did in moments, in pockets, feel like they were just waiting on Tatum to take over, and it never happened.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the three-point ball. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not hating on it, but there has to be good ball movement, generating good looks. And they were doing that in the first quarter. They were doing that at the beginning, right? They went on this 14-5 run to start the game. They were 2 of 3 from 3. Then all of a sudden, the script flipped because Cleveland said, oh, you know what? We're going to take it inside. And Evan Mobley had 9 points in the first quarter. Evan Mobley finished with 21 points. The Cavs as a team finished with over 60 points in the paint. without Jared Allen in their lineup.
Right.
And so they were able to do that. And you mentioned not having Kristaps Porzingis earlier, how that could play a role in this series moving forward. Well, if they get Allen back and there's no Porzingis, that could play an even bigger part. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, when the Celtics didn't shoot well, they, in the second quarter, started going to the basket. We saw it. They had their 4 straight baskets were in the paint. So they started going inside and they started to create some separation. It's like, that's when I thought the run was going to happen, Trav, in that second quarter. Right? The Celtics were down. The Cavs went on a 25-10 run.
Right.
And had it not been for the 3 at the end of the first quarter, Jason Tatum hitting it and getting it to a 6-point game again, the Cavs would have gone on this 25-7 run up by 9. Big 3 by Tatum at the time. Then the Celtics come back and tie it. They take the lead, but they were going inside. And guess what that was doing, Travis? That was generating open looks from 3.
That's right.
And so when I say I don't have a problem with the 3 ball, when you're going inside and then you've established that and then you're able to dish out and get guys good looks, that's when it's a good thing. And they hit a couple in that second quarter. But then they went away from that for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you would. Maybe the Cavs figured out something defensively where they were squeezing the Celtics and not allowing them to get those shots in the paint like they were earlier.
Yeah.
But the Celtics weren't hitting their shots from downtown. And when they can't go inside and they can't shoot from outside,
right,
it's a bad recipe.
Yeah, 118-94 is what that leads to. That was the final score, beat down City in Game 2. Look, the Porzingis thing is an interesting angle for this reason. So, I understand what you lose from a guy like Porzingis being out offensively, but everyone's quick to talk about that. It's the defensive aspect that worries me, particularly in a series like this against Cleveland, who can attack the rim. Porzingis, I'm not trying to sit here and say the guy's Dikembe Mutombo, but he is a rim protector, and he does a very good job at it. So if nothing else, sometimes when you have a rim protector, it's not necessarily about the block statistic as much. That's great, as much as it is altering shots or deterring guys from attacking the paint. So when you have a Porzingis presence in the middle, it will deter a lot of guys or alter a lot of shots. We're not seeing that now. We're seeing the Cavs go at the cup with reckless abandon, and I certainly can't blame them. And I think I said coming into the series that I thought that should be the game plan for them. So they're executing that. Look, Donovan Mitchell tonight was sensational. He just was. In Game 2, he was sensational. I think as the playoffs has gone on, and we saw this against the Magic, because that was a tremendous series that the Cavs and the Magic had. But on the back end of that series, Game 6, Game 7, this guy took the series over. And I've been very critical of him since arriving to Cleveland. When he was in Utah, I stuck up for him all the time. I defended Donovan Mitchell. I said, you got to get him. Free Donovan Mitchell. Get him the hell out of Utah. Let's see him in a real playoff team, a real playoff scenario. And then he got to Cleveland, and last year it was an absolute dud. He was great in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they got absolutely punked by the Knicks. And so I completely turned on him. In these playoffs, I'm seeing the guy that I defended for years in Utah. He is now settled into – he's always been a star, but now he's settled into playoff star Donovan Mitchell, and the Celtics have a real problem on their hands because I just said he took over the third quarter. I thought, okay, now it's our guys' time in the fourth with Jason Tatum. I was incorrect, but Donovan Mitchell is a real star, Adam, and now we have a real series here. Give me your sort of forecast for Game 3 as you look ahead as this series goes on, because the Cavs now go back home. They have all the momentum. They believe, they have confidence, and their star, unlike the Celtics, their star is in a funky groove right now and feeling good, and they are riding his coattails, brother.
Yeah, you saying that makes me think back to the first series. Who was the star for the Heat in the first series? They didn't
That's
have
right.
one,
That's
right?
right. That's
Bam
right.
Adebayo is not, he's fine, he's a good player, right? Jimmy Butler was not playing, and so they didn't have to deal with a quote unquote star.
Yep.
Now you got this Cleveland team who's a better team overall, and they also have a star in Donovan Mitchell, and so the Celtics haven't been able to contain him.
That's
So
right.
I think you look ahead to game 3, you have to find a way to, at least, do something different defensively to keep this guy in check and let other guys beat you. All right. All right, fine.
Right.
You see Evan Mobley at 21. All right. Do that again. Do
Yeah.
that again in game 3. Levert, you had 21 points off the. All right. Do that again.
Right.
Make those other guys beat you. Right. And that's usually how you contain the stars and then you make the other guys try to beat you. So I think that maybe that's something that if you're the Celtics, you try to do in game 3. That's a good start anyway.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking about just hearing you talk, and you make such a great point about the Heat, obviously with Jimmy Butler out, and Bam's not the kind of guy that can create his own shot
Right.
and take over a game and all that. You're right. And the Cavs obviously have Donovan Mitchell, a bona fide star in the league. Just hearing you break that down made me think of the Knicks because for a few reasons. Well, let's assume that they're going to be there in the Eastern Conference Finals, and even though the Celtics are going to drive us nuts, let's assume they're going to handle their business against the Cavs. So when you get there, the Knicks have a bona fide star in Jalen Brunson. We understand that. Here's the other thing, though, that I was thinking of as you were breaking all this stuff down. You can't really take any nights off against the Knicks. You could get away with it. The Heat shooting the lights out for one game. Game 2 against the Cavs. Your star disappears in the 4th. You could get away with that stuff, I think, in this series against the Cavs. But against the Knicks, I mean, the way they play, reckless abandon, tough, every possession. Adam, every possession for the Knicks is like March Madness Final Four. I mean, they have Villanova. They're literally Villanova we're looking at. You just can't have these kind of lapses and brain farts and like low energy stuff against a team like the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. You could be in real trouble. I know I'm looking ahead, but as you're talking about, the ancillary pieces and the other guys and having a bona fide star, my head went to the Knicks of the Celtics better get this together, because if that is indeed the Eastern Conference Finals, from what we saw in Game 2, you're going to be in trouble against a team like the Knicks. They're going to steal a few games from you.
Yeah, listening to you describe that, it makes me think they're the Florida Panthers of the NBA, right? Relentless, right? They don't take a shift off, and we've seen that with the Bruins, especially in Game 2, which we will talk about. By the way, speaking of Game 2s in Boston, not good. 0-4 in Game 2s. The Bruins 0-2, the Celtics 0-2.
That's right.
I know. Got to change that trend if you get to the conference final.
All right. Well, look. I don't want to use if. I think they're going to get there. My gut says, Game 3, I'll go Celtics because I think they'll just bounce back, and they're just a better team. They'll figure it out. But listen, Cleveland's going to get one at home. I predicted this series going 6. I know, you could scoff at that at the time before the series started, like 6. That should be 5 or maybe even a sweep. But I just assumed because Cleveland's almost like a New York light in a sense. They play defense. They're tough. They're well coached. They have a star. Not quite as relentless, and I don't think not quite as talented as the Knicks roster-wise. But I just figured they're going to get a couple here, especially in Cleveland. I did not see them winning any in Boston, but I thought at home they would get a few.
This changes things a little bit.
It does.
This was a big win for this Cleveland team, and now you got the next 2 in Cleveland. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Celtics, it would behoove them to get off to a good start on the road, maybe silence that crowd a little bit, get the Cavs thinking a little bit. Obviously if they win Game 3, that would be huge, because I feel like that might take the wind out of the sails a little bit. They say, oh man, the Cavs they believe right now. They have a lot of believability. And so if you take that Game 3 from them, then you might be in good shape moving forward, and then the Celtics might roll, but we'll see.
Amen. Let's hear from you. 617-790-0928. Hit us up on the hotline. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Adam, let's skate to the ice now and talk Bruins. Jim Montgomery had some interesting thoughts about how his team fought at the end of Game 2, literally.
It was really important, in my opinion. And I don't think anyone should be surprised because if anyone sticks together really well, it's the Boston Bruins.
What was the reaction in the room among players to Pasternak dropping the
I think it was inspiring. If I was choose one word, inspiring.
It's a good word to choose, Coach. And you know what? The fans felt the same way. Look at these tweets. Pasta, I'm going to say it for you since you didn't. Those late punches didn't really bother you because he has pillow hands. It's my first time hearing that reference, Adam. Oh,
Look out, pillow hands. Reminds me of pillow fighters. Do you remember pillow fighters as a kid? They were like these little things, arms and legs. And anyway, that's what that reminds me of.
The old pillow hands. Pasta is a beauty, man. Wish our stars had the same mentality as him. This is from a Maple Leafs fan, Adam. So basically calling his team soft, and he likes Pasta getting in there and getting involved, mixing it up with old pillow hands. And then how about this one? This has to spark something in them, no? And that, look, Adam, this is where I'm at with this. You know, I feel as though, and not just Pasta, everyone, the end of that game turned into the Royal Rumble, and I'm here for it. This is hockey. This is not Malice in the Palace or some fight in an NFL game or a baseball game where the dugout's clear. This is hockey, bro. Like, I understand now it's all about the speed and the stick skills and the high scoring. But when I grew up, Adam, fisticuffs and violence and blood. I mean, this was real playoff hockey when I grew up, man. So I loved to see it. Now, I understand what sparked all the fights because we saw it at the end of Game 1 on the other side. Bruins were dominating. Panthers got frustrated, and it got chippy. So, I don't love that. I'd much rather have a close game, and it's just intense and physical. But, look, I'm hoping that Game 2, period, fights included, spark something in the Bruins coming back home for Game 3 and getting this done. Like, I love to see that kind of playoff intensity. That's the hockey that I know, Adam.
Squishamellos. I think that's a more accurate reference to the pillow hand. Sorry. I was listening to you the entire time. But the pillow fighter reference is a little old. The Squishamellos, if you got kids, you know what those things are. Those are popular.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, Trav, I agree with you. I enjoyed watching that from the Bruins because of the score, because of the way things were going, and because they need to set the tone for Game 3 when they return to Boston for Games 3 and 4. I really enjoyed Pasta doing what he did because you don't see superstars doing that. And the tweet from the Leafs fan saying our stars would never do that. By the way, if I were a Leafs fan, I would be upset, of course, but they did bring it in the series. They changed their style of play. They pushed Boston around. They did what they could do when they didn't have a healthy Austin Matthews, when they didn't have a William Nylander there for the entire series. I mean, they gave it an A for effort. I mean, their head coach was fired. Sheldon Keefe, he's gone, so they're going to be going in a different direction. But back to the Bruins. I mean, you love to see Pasta doing what he did, dropping the gloves, getting after it with Tkachuk, who clearly has the advantage, and wanting to do that. And you heard Jim Montgomery use the word inspiring. No question. No question that gets the boys going, and hopefully there's some carryover between that and Game 3. But again, you don't want to see that right out of the gate. You want to see the Bruins, battle the Panthers, between the boards, battling the forecheck, clearing pucks, doing all those things they need to do to try and get on the other side of it.
What do you love, though? Just you personally. Because, look, you and I are around the same age. You grew up with the violence and the fights in hockey. They've really taken that out or tried to take that out of hockey now. And I understand it. I mean, we see the same thing, Adam, in the NFL, right? Like, you remember segments we would watch called Jacked Up, where we would watch guys get absolutely rocked And that would never happen anymore. I mean, they're taking that stuff out of the game now. You can't even sneeze on a quarterback without getting a penalty. I mean, is the nostalgia side of you loving the fighting, or are you like, hey, let's just play hockey and end all this nonsense?
No, I do like the fighting. I still think fighting is a part of hockey. You don't see, again, the superstars do what David Pastrnak did in Game 2. That's what makes that really stand out. But I do think that players need to legislate on the ice, because if they're not able to do that, then that leads to, potentially worse injuries, right? So you want to make sure that the players can take care of their own business. And, there's a fine line. I understand player safety and wanting to make sure that you keep these guys in one piece, right? In hockey and in football, as you referenced. But, you have to have a little bit of, it's what makes the sports great they're violent sports. They are. I mean, this is a volunteer activity. The guys sign up for it. They get paid for it. And it's part of the game. I understand, wanting to limit the amount of headshots in football and in hockey, and wanting to keep the players safe, but it's got to be a part of it, because it's part of the DNA.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a fine line for sure. All right, let's go hate it or love it here. I'll give you some topics. You tell me if you hate it or love it. This is for Game 3. David Pastrnak fighting in Game 2 to spark the Bruins for Game 3. It sounds like both of us love this. But again, I don't want to just focus on the fight. I mean, to me, getting your ass beat on the scoreboard should be what sparks it, right? I mean, the fighting is almost like icing on the cake, kind of. That's like, insult to injury, pouring salt in the wound of like, all right, we got beat on the ice, and then they got in our face, and we had to fight for it. So I think all the above, I love it in terms of a spark, not just the fights. It sounds like you agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you heard, again, Jim Montgomery used the word inspired, and it's basically just having each other's back, right? Being a band of brothers, as the coach had used that term as well. You want these guys to stick together, because now they're experiencing adversity. They got their butts beat in Game 2, so now they have to come back and protect home ice. Right. And come out in Game 3, with a game plan to, again, combat the Panthers' forecheck. Try to, have clean breakouts. Try to get some more offensive zone time. Those are things that the Bruins need to do in order to beat the Panthers, because the Panthers in Game 2, we saw what they want to do. Now the Bruins need to come up with a game plan to combat that.
Absolutely. All right, hate it or love it. Bruins power play this series. Honestly, Adam, I almost feel like a teacher that I can't even give a grade. It's like incomplete. Like I Game 1, I loved it. Obviously, Game 2, I hated it. So it's like, I mean, how am I supposed to say hate it or love it when you get two different sides of the coin here? I think, being a Libra, I want to see some balance in this series. Like maybe Game 3 can kind of even out a little bit and beyond. I went into this series thinking it was going to go 6 or 7 games, right? I thought this would be a long series. I thought it would be like a heavyweight fight with two great teams trading in the center of the ring here. And look, for what I've seen, Adam, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, but I've talked about it on the show. From what I've seen with thine eyes, the Florida Panthers were the most complete hockey team in the East that I saw wire to wire all year. Remember last season, they underachieved all year after winning the President's Trophy, and then they underachieved. They got hot at the end, and we know the rest of the story from the first round and beyond for the Panthers. They went to the Stanley Cup final. But this year, they had some injuries, but really, they were really good from the start of the season all the way up to now, and it's because they're complete. Offense, defense, in goal with Bob, well coached. I mean, this team has it all. So power play, this series, I can't go hate or love for the Bruins. It feels incomplete to me, Adam. Am I off here?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're off. I think the power play was very good in the first series against the Leafs, especially to start, right? I mean, they had
Yeah.
switched the units up. They kept the lines intact on the units. They split up Pasta and Marchand, and it was working for them. They had scored a power play goal in 5 straight games, including the regular season finale, when they switched up the units. And then the Leafs started to figure things out. They were able to kill the Bruins, power play opportunities. And here we are in the first 2 games of the series, and the Bruins have yet to score a power play goal. So I don't love it right now. I do think it needs to get better. I think special teams, like it did in the first series against the Leafs, needs to play a factor on the power play and the penalty kill. So you got 63 and 88 back together on the power play. So we'll see if that bears any fruit moving forward.
All right, I'm leaning on you for this one. Bruins penalty kill this series, hate it or love it. Now, I'm going to say love it, simply because I think they've been doing a really good job. What happened in game 2 was the game started getting away from them. Then we got all the fights, all the penalties, and then the floodgates opened up. But I don't feel like it's fair to really judge that. The game got away. That's why I don't blame Swayman at all. More on him in a minute. But the game just started getting away from them. But the too many men on the ice was just driving me nuts. How many times do we see that penalty? But I thought for the most part, they were doing pretty well on the penalty kill until they weren't. When all the wheels started coming off, all the fights started happening, it was almost like the team started, it felt like it started melting down almost at the end of game 2. And then obviously it didn't go the Bruins' way. But for the most part in the 2 games, with the end of game 2 to the side, I feel like they've been doing a pretty good job on the penalty kill. I'm going to go love it. But I'm also leaning on you here to school me. Am I seeing it wrong, or do you agree with me?
No, I love the penalty kill. I mean, despite all of what we saw in game 2, the Panthers' power play goal, came at the end, right? When the game was really decided at that point. The Bruins penalty kill has been one of their strengths all season long, including in the postseason as well. It's continued in the series against the Panthers. It's just a great commitment by Joe Sacco's unit, because he's been running the penalty kill, for this Bruins team for quite some time now. They've really always, it's been one of their strengths for quite some time, this season included, despite the fact that one of their best penalty killers, Patrice Bergeron, had retired, right? So you have, the goaltending you mentioned, your best penalty killer, as they say, is your goaltender, and Jeremy Swayman certainly has been that. So that has been and has remained a strength for the Bruins in the postseason as well, and I don't see any reason why that would not continue for them as they get ready for Game 3.
Okay, so far you and I have been in lockstep. This is going to be an interesting one. Hate or love it, Jeremy Swayman, sitting him for Game 3. Adam, I can't use the word hate here. I'm going to go dislike. I dislike it. I think I'm rolling with Jeremy Swayman. Look, it wasn't his fault in a sense of, if you don't watch the game and you see the final score, you go, oh my gosh, what happened to him? I guess the hot streak is over, right? No. I saw this dude making incredible saves all night long. Going back to what we said here at the end of Game 2, when all hell broke loose and you know what hit the fan and the floodgates open, what do you want him to do? I mean, at some point, he was not getting the defensive support needed to be successful, and he certainly, as we see from that final score and the lack of shots on goal, especially from the Stars in that game, he wasn't getting the offensive support either. So at some point, the guy's human. The Panthers are amazing. That's an amazing hockey team at home in a gotta-have-it situation for Game 2. They did not want to go down 0-2 coming back to Boston. So I sort of understand it, and some of me thinks that's why they pulled Swayman. They pulled him to say, hey, we're going to get Olmark in there, get some time on the ice, but also we want you fresh for Game 3 back home. You're our guy. That's my opinion. I don't have any insider information. Here's another reason why I say dislike instead of hate. I'm perfectly fine, Adam, with Olmark getting the start in Game 3. I actually understand it if that's the way they want to go. But Swayman's been so hot all playoffs long. I don't blame him for Game 2. I think I'd stick with Swayman. So I dislike this one. What say you?
Well, I mean, look, I'm going to say I hate it only because I don't want Jeremy Swayman not to have an opportunity in game 3 after what went down in game 2, right? He was the best player for the Bruins again in game 2. Again, the final score, not indicative of how he played. It's more on the other aspects of the game that didn't go well for the Bruins. So I'd like to see Swayman get another crack at it. Goaltending has been the strength of this team all season long. And it's not that, to your point, it's not that I don't want Linus Ullmark to get an opportunity. He may get an opportunity at some point in the series. Maybe he even does in game 3 because Jim Montgomery said that, they're not committed to a goaltender yet. They're not announcing it, which is, par for the course in terms of how Jim Montgomery has handled this, not revealing his goaltender. But yeah, I would hate not seeing Jeremy Swayman get another opportunity. Look, he could have done a couple of things differently. Playing the puck behind his own net. There was the one goal in particular, the Panthers' first goal, I believe, where he decided to go to Wotherspoon and he had Forbort on the other side, and that could have changed how that sequence went for the Bruins. But in between the pipes, he was fantastic.
All right, look, how do you see game 3 playing out? I'm telling you right now, I think the Panthers are going to do exactly what the Bruins did. I think they'll get one in Boston. Whether it's 3 or 4, I don't know. I'm going to go game 3. Bruins handle their business at home, though. I think they get this one. What say you?
Yeah, I say the Bruins handle it. They feed off the energy of the crowd. I think, that win in game 7 over the Leafs, winning at home, that was big for them because they had struggled at home compared to the road.
Right.
So it'll be good for them to come home and carry the momentum over, hopefully, in game 3.
More hockey, more hockey, more hockey. Today is the 54th anniversary of Bobby Orr's 1970 Stanley Cup game-winning goal, the iconic picture, the iconic goal. We all know it. Look, to my understanding, Adam, I was told by a lot of folks here when I moved here that Bobby Orr made this a hockey town. Can you speak to, as someone who's from here, can you speak to what this moment meant to the city? And just as we look at this shot, this is just an iconic shot in the game, period. Forget Boston, just in hockey, period, hockey lore. Can you speak to Bobby Orr's impact? And obviously this moment is a big part of that.
Well, Trev, it's a little bit before my time, man. In 1970, it was exactly going to the Garden, watching the games. I wasn't even alive. But no, I mean, in terms of, the impact on hockey in the city, and this being the centennial season for the Bruins, we've celebrated the different eras in Bruins history. And this, of course, being the big bad Bruins era, with Bobby Orr winning 2 Stanley Cups, 1970 sweeping the St. Louis Blues, this iconic shot. The big bad Bruins really changed things in this city and made the Bruins, took it to another level in terms of what their popularity and
Sure.
and again, the statues outside the Garden. It never gets old seeing the shot, seeing the footage, the assist from Derek Sanderson, and the photo itself. It's. This came to be Ray Lucier is the one who took the photo, for the Boston Record American at the time.
Yeah.
And this was not the photo that he had submitted to his editor because the puck was not in the net. And I guess at the time, the shot was having the puck in the net. And so there was a much different shot that was originally submitted, but this one ended up getting it, making it, which is now an iconic photo. So it's the photo that almost never really saw the light of day.
That's crazy. That is crazy. All right, look, what's your favorite sports moments of all time? I'm not going to hold you to one. Just rattle off a few. I mean, I think about the professional side of my life, which was covering in back-to-back years, Adam. I got a Capitals Stanley Cup playoff run I got to cover, which was insane. And then the very next year, I got a Nationals World Series run that I got to cover. So all of that comes with it, all the playoff games, all the moments, all the memories, all the way to the parade will always stick out in my mind. But even as like the fan in me, like as a kid, my first Super Bowl memory was just watching my parents go nuts for the Redskins winning the Super Bowl with Doug Williams, first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. That was amazing. I was young. I ruined their party because they let me stay up late and they gave me Mountain Dew and I puked everywhere. But other than that, it was a great night, Adam, and a great memory for me.
Yeah, just
other than that, it was great.
You got to do the do, man. No, there's so many. I've been so lucky to work in this business and be present for a lot of my favorite moments in sports and Boston sports history specifically. I was there in 2004 in Game 5 at Fenway with David Ortiz with the base hit that sent the series back to New York in the ALCS. I was there for Game 6, the 2013 World Series, when the Red Sox clinched at Fenway Park. Being on the field for that celebration was just unbelievable. And then as a fan, I was at the AFC title game in high school back in the 1996 season with Bill Parcells as the head coach and Otis, my man, Smith with the pick six. For the Patriots that sent them to the Super Bowl. And at the time, I was alive for Super Bowl 20, where the Patriots got demolished by the Bears 46-10 at the Superdome in New Orleans. And so, they weren't going to Super Bowls every year back then. So to see them go back to the Super Bowl, eventually losing to the Packers, but still, that was a pretty cool moment. So there's just a lot of them, man. There's a lot of them, but those three stand out.
Those are great ones. All right, look, let's close it with winners and losers of the week. But before we get there, tell us about the exciting shows you got going on.
Yeah.
Nesson has it going on right now, baby. Plug it, Adam. Tell them what you got.
All right, man. Extra time. The first episode dropped this past week. It's me, Sophia, Jemai. We're just talking about our tales covering the teams, the Red Sox and the Bruins. And, we've talked to a lot of interesting people. We've seen a lot of interesting things. We've encountered some unusual things in our travels on the road. So we're talking about all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. The three of us are close friends, kind of like me and you. And we're just rapping. We're just going back and forth. It's a lot of fun. So extra time. The next episode drops on Tuesday.
Let's go. All right, winners and losers of the week. Winner. Look, even though I'm tired of talking about it, Adam, I don't know how you can't give it to the Tom Brady roast for the winner. I mean, it literally dominated every conversation all week long. I call it the gift that keeps on giving because it just keeps giving us content to talk about. But it was the winner. I mean, even for comedy. You haven't heard comedy like that since back in the day, and no one, to my knowledge, has been canceled. So I'm going to go Tom Brady roast here. What about you?
I love that. I'm going to go with Chris Sale.
All right.
Chris Sale pitching against the Red Sox, 6 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, first start against the Sox since he was traded to Atlanta. And I'm going to give him a shout out because he sat down with Jemai Webster, our guy, talking about his experience in Boston and how he felt badly about the way things turned out, but was really grateful for the experience, the opportunity, loved his teammates, and then he went out and he shoved for the Braves. So I got to give it to him, got to tip a cap. Hope he stays healthy just because I'm a fan of Chris Sale.
Well, I also know you're a fan of hip-hop, so my loser for the week is Drake. I mean, it's bad enough that you're losing to Kendrick Lamar. That's over. I think he has lost definitively, in my opinion. But now, I don't know if you're paying attention to this. I mean, his mansion is under attack. It got shot up. People are scaling the wall, trying to attack him and his security guards. It's just a rough time for Drake right now. He's taking a lot of L's, so he's my loser of the week. Who's yours?
All right, I'm going to go back to the Tom Brady roast, and I'm going to say the Kardashian family. Because you know that they are behind the booze being taken out of the Netflix special. That is so incredibly weak. I can't believe that that's the only thing. Of all the things that you could have taken out of that roast, all the jokes that went over, all of the Aaron Hernandez jokes, all of the Giselle jokes, you take out the booze, that's just, yeah. So losers, it's not confirmed that they did that, Travis, but I have a pretty good feeling that they're behind it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I agree with you that it's weak ass. But I will say this, it's not surprising at all. I mean, they They
Yeah.
literally run the media. They run entertainment. They make all the money. You know, there are powers that be behind the scenes that bow down to that Kardashian family, and that's exactly what happened. I think my guess is Kris Jenner went to Netflix and said, "You are not going to have my baby being booed on this with everyone watching. Take it out." And someone at Netflix said, "Yes, ma'am." And they did just that. For all of our best content of the day, make sure to follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Adam, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Travis Thomas, Adam Pellerin. Boston has entered the chat. We're out until we enter it again next time. Peace.